look, I think Christian values are a good thing, and I'll talk to you about why I think that's a good thing, but that's separate from forcing people to pray, which I don't think that anybody, certainly no Christian that I know, would ever support or ever endorse. And
let's look at this headline again. Governor Abbott signs new law mandating. All right, let's do an intro. Welcome back to the channel. JD Vance sucks, so let's watch him debate college students, shall we?
Thank you. But hey, please, I appreciate that, but we're not even halfway done. So here's I don't know what you're saying, but it sounds awesome. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. What we're going to do next,
I don't want to hear him talk. I want to hear him
take
debate
some
college
questions. And I remember one of my favorite things about Charlie, not that there aren't going to be some questioners who agree with me, but if you disagree with me, I would ask that you come to the front of the line, because we want to talk to people we agree with. We also want to hear from people we disagree with.
I actually respect that. I respect that. I don't respect JD Vance. I think he's a terrible person, but I respect the willingness to try to debate, say people come in the front. I don't know how genuine it is, but at least he said it.
The spotlights are very bright, but whoever's in line, go ahead and ask your question. Oh, there we go. Okay, now I can see you. How you doing?
Hi, Mr. Vice President. Thank you so much for being here. My name's Lucy.
And I'm Ellie, and we're with the Turning Point chapter for this question.
Thank you, guys.
Can you tell us how your faith helps you in your role as Vice President?
Well,
that question sucks.
I appreciate that. That is up again, and I all the period in a way that any plan about that. Author of Actuate That is a famous that's the
I understand your view.
Man, I just shit on their religion. I mean, that question doesn't suck. If you're religious, shout out you. I'm not religious. I don't care about the question personally, but shout out you. You care. That's all that matters. You care. I don't give a fuck, but you care. And I'm not trying to hate on you. I need to be a little bit more,
on illegal immigration is it should be a top priority. Strengthening.
Thank you.
I understand your view on illegal immigration is it should be a top priority, strengthening our southern borders and fighting the massive drug trafficking that's taken place while securing jobs for the working class Americans. Also, deporting every single person who's invaded our country illegally, which I 100% agree on. My question to you is, what is your view on legal immigration? Personally, I have a girlfriend who's studying in America off a visa. Our hope is eventually getting a green card. So what is your view on legal immigration? Should we reduce it? Also, what is your plan for a merit-based system?
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate the question.
Okay, interesting question. Let's see how let's see if he gives an interesting answer.
And look, my honest view is that right now, America, thanks in part to the Biden border invasion, but also thanks in part to a lot of bad immigration policy, right now, we have let in too many immigrants into the United States of America. That is just a fundamental reality. Now,
that means your girlfriend needs to get the fuck out of the country. That's what that means. You say your girlfriend needs to go, buddy. Let's hear him out.
Now, look, legal immigration is complicated because we let in about 1 million legal immigrants into the United States of America every single year.
It's not complicated. It's not at all complicated. But you know why he said it's complicated? He wants to get rid of the brown people.
And I think the evidence is pretty clear that a lot of those immigrants are actually undercutting the wages of American workers. It's one of the reasons why the President of the United States...
That's not true.
It's one of the reasons why the President of the United States and a lot of us in the administration have encouraged H-1B reform, because if you look at the H-1B visa, what it's supposed to be is that you have a super genius who's studying at an American university, who's working at a great company. You want that super genius to stay in the United States of America and not go somewhere else. What it's actually used to do is hire an accountant at a 50% discount to an American citizen. I don't think that we should be hiring accountants from foreign countries when we've got accountants right here in the United States that would love to work for a good wage. Now, you asked about, I think, your girlfriend, you said, and I obviously don't know the full details about your situation, but my view is, look, there are people who want to come to the United States of America, and some of them, I'm sure, can enrich the United States of America by coming here, but we have got to get our overall numbers way, way down. Too many people have come into the United States of America. I am married to the daughter of immigrants who came to the United States in the 1980s. I do believe that some immigrants, many immigrants do in fact enrich the United States of America, but here's the problem. We don't even know how many illegal aliens we have. We don't even.
No, fuck you. You try to skirt past it. He's playing these weird little tactics. And I want to be very clear. Buddy, he's saying fuck your girlfriend and she should go. The idea that we only should bring in super geniuses is so fucking stupid. We should have workers in general. We do not have an unemployment problem for a reason. Now, I do think wages should match what workers deserve, but I don't know about this idea that we are bringing in H-1B visas for 50% cut. I think he fucking made that shit up for sure. But ultimately, the reason why he was trying to play these weird mind games is because he would have to admit that his girlfriend's parents should have never brought them over, which means that his girlfriend or wife, I don't fucking know, she never should have been here in the first place either. You have to stand 10 toes. You have to be consistent. I guarantee her parents were not super geniuses. I guarantee it. No, I could be wrong. They could have been super geniuses. But let's be very clear. What you're saying, that basically 98% of people in this country who's immigrating here should not be here. Because 99%, to be honest, because a super genius is like 1% of the 1%. So, buddy, who asked the question, he said your girlfriend needs to get the fuck out of this country. That's what he said. Absolutely. What he said.
Even know. The best guess is probably 25, 30 million people. I've heard estimates as high as 50 million. When something like that happens, you've got to allow your own society to cohere a little bit, to build a sense of common identity, for all the newcomers to assimilate, the ones who are going to stay, to assimilate into American culture. Until you do that, you've got to be careful about any additional immigration, in my view. Thank you, sir.
That guy's such a beta. He just said fuck your girlfriend and he's like, oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, bro.
Don't just buy
trying
crypto.
to be nice, but
Trade
like,
the price action.
It's so clear what the. To be fair, he's a college student. That's the vice president of America. Do I expect a college student to fight back as a vice president of America? No. So I apologize. I'm being a little too aggressive towards the guy, but I want us to all understand that MAGA, this whole idea, the lies that they tell about illegal immigration, we've moved past that. Now they are telling lies about legal immigration because they're making it very clear they don't want immigrants in the country. The American dream is dead.
Do you think it's a conflict of interest for Miriam Adelson, an Israeli donor, to give millions of dollars to his campaign and then Trump have pro-Israeli policies?
Well, if you're asking, do I think the President of the United States has a conflict of interest? No, I do not, because I know how the President of the United States makes his decisions, and I see it behind the scenes. Now, as the President himself has said, Miriam Adelson, who, by the way, I know, and I have a very good relationship with her, she is very clear about the fact. She doesn't hide the fact that she really loves Israel, and that is part of what motivates her political giving. That is a reality. At the same time, the President of the United States is America first through and through. And let me give you just a couple of examples of this. Number one, we have heard from some pro-Israel voices, some people who really love the state of Israel, that they don't want us to have a relationship with certain Middle Eastern countries. Well, the President, his attitude is, we need to build relationships with any country where we have shared interests, and he's going to do it if it's in the interest of the American people, and he's done exactly that. Number two, there were people, and I remember this criticism of the President of the United States, I just raised it in the context of a conversation that I had with Charlie. I remember when people...
I thought he's going to bring up people that disagree. What are all these softball fucking questions?
Said that the President of the United States was going to get us into a multi-100,000 troop regime change war for Israel. This was 4 months ago. This was 6 months ago. Now, the people who accuse the President of the United States of wanting to get us into a regime change war for Israel, I wonder if they stepped back and said, you know what, we were wrong about that, because the President of the United States did not want to get us into a regime change war for any other country. He literally
pressured Argentina's election. He's threatening to send troops to Venezuela. He just threatened to send troops to Nigeria. And when it comes to Israel, he had a ceasefire plan that heavily benefited Israel, but it didn't matter. And now they're in a conflict again because Israel started bombing Gaza again. So what the fuck are you yapping about? What are you talking about, buddy? What are we talking about, pal?
To knock out a nuclear facility and get everybody back home, and that's exactly what he did. So I understand there's some frustrations out there, but I think the President of the United States, more than any president of my lifetime, is willing to stand up to anybody if he thinks it puts the interests of the American people first. Thank you.
If he thinks it puts himself first, let's be very clear. It's about Donald Trump. He does not give two shits about Americans.
Hello, Vice President Vance.
How you doing?
Good. I have a question. Do you condone large private corporations such as Palantir hoarding data caches on U.S. citizens?
No, I don't condone it. And here's the thing. So I get asked about Palantir a lot because there's this internet meme out there that somehow I am super in bed with Palantir. And here's the thing that I'd say about this. Palantir is a private company. They sometimes do a useful service, and sometimes they're going to do things that we don't like. You should be demanding that your representatives do two things when it comes to Palantir or when it comes to any other technology company. Number one, protecting your data. What's going on with artificial intelligence is going to mean that there are massive inducements to steal your data, to harvest it, and to use it against you to sell digital advertisements. That is not what I believe in, and I've been fighting against it, whether it's Palantir or any other technology company, literally before I ran for office. When I ran for
Have you been fighting against it? Did you fight against Doge trying to take people's data without permission? I doubt it. I seriously doubt it.
office, I was criticized by Republicans in my Republican Senate primary because I was talking then.
I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck what you did before now. I don't care. You are now a little cuck. So cuck yourself back into your place and being Donald Trump's little bitch boy.
About Google and Facebook, very important. What's going on?
And also, aren't you the protege of fucking he's a protege of Peter Thiel, who's a big technology billionaire, and like Curtis Yarvin. There's a lot of tech billionaires that have invested a lot of money into you. So the idea that you fight against these private corporations is some bullshit. It is some bullshit.
On with artificial intelligence, we got to be worried about large-scale surveillance. Okay, everything. You asked about Palantir. Do you know that every time you make a credit card transaction, the credit card companies are collecting data on how you spend your money? Do you know that every time you linger over a link on the internet for more than a half second, the search engines are collecting data on you so that they can sell you advertisements? One of the biggest questions for American policy over the next 10 years is how to ensure that you are a sovereign citizen.
What the fuck does that have to do with Palantir? I hate when they do this shit. Let me talk about something completely unrelated. Okay.
And you cannot be a sovereign citizen if any private corporation or any government can steal something from you that belongs to you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Palantir is a company, but what about Google though? What about these credit cards? Like, okay.
You have the power to change lives.
I'll try to be nicer to MAGA voters, but I will not be nice to that JD Vance.
Good evening.
Thank
My
you.
question is, the Republican Party, they stand for the right to bear arms. A lot of things the founding fathers really made a priority.
Sure.
And I feel as if requiring Christianity in public schools goes against the founding fathers' wish of freedom of religion. What do you think about that?
Well, I guess who is saying that we require Christianity in public schools?
Just from what I've seen.
You didn't see all the stuff regarding Texas and see, all right, let me see how the student responds, and then we'll pull up the receipts, JD Vance. We'll pull it up.
On the media and the news, it seems like the Trump administration had wanted to make praying in schools and Christian values incorporated.
Well, look, I think Christian values are a good thing, and I'll talk to you about why I think that's a good thing, but that's separate from forcing people. to pray, which I don't think that anybody, certainly no Christian that I know, would ever support or ever endorse.
All right, let's look it up. Let's look it up. Let's look it up. All right. Texas trying to bring religion into schools. I'm pretty sure it was Texas. Texas. What was it? Texas with the praying stuff? Forcing. I don't think it was praying in schools. Was it Texas? I don't think it's Texas. Unless pushback is forces 10 commandment. All right, let's bring this up. Prairie school divides America as Texas. Was it Texas? New. Okay, it was Texas. All right, let's look at all these sources, right? All right. First source. Governor Abbott signs new law mandating prayer in schools, violating Texas constitutional rights. Let's listen to J.D. Vance again.
Well, look, I think Christian values are a good thing, and I'll talk to you about why I think that's a good thing. But that's separate from forcing people to pray, which I don't think that anybody, certainly no Christian that I know, would ever support or ever endorse.
Let's look at this headline again. Governor Abbott signs new law mandating prayers. Very interesting, J.D. Vance. Very interesting. The Vice President of the United States doesn't know about this. All right, let's read it, though. Governor Greg Abbott today signed Senate Bill 11 into law, mandating a daily period for prayer and Bible reading in Texas public schools. Didn't I say more? I don't think I need to say more. Lying piece of shit. All right, let's continue.
Let me just say something generally about all the people. I see there's a big line, and I hope I can get to everybody's question. I remember when I was a sophomore in high school, I went to an event at my church, which was a book signing with Oliver North and Sean Hannity, the Fox.
I don't give a fuck what you did regarding your school and Christianity. I don't want religion in schools. What is this whole trying to appeal to Christianity and the goods of Christianity? I think Christianity is very good. My aunt and uncle are very Christian. My uncle's a pastor. I think they're great people. I don't want fucking religion in the school, buddy. You can say whatever you want.
News host, and this was back before. I mean, this was, I guess, 25 line, and I'm about to say hello to Oliver North and Sean Hannity, and I remember firm handshake and tell them my name. And that's when he looks at me and he says, "How are you doing?" And saying my name. My point is, I admire your guys' courage, and please don't be nervous. If you need to work through a question, think about it, speak it. We're all here to have a nice conversation, and we're all.
Oh well, that's a nice thing to say. Even though you're evil, that is a nice thing to say.
All supportive of it. Here's the thing: when you talk about forcing, let me answer your question. Forcing Christianity, forcing people to.
I apologize. I thought you were just yapping. I mean, you kind of were, but that's a good sentiment. I apologize. See, I can admit I'm wrong. I'm not black-pilled all the time.
Pray. There's a liberal idea out there that I think is wrong, and that's that liberalism is the source of freedom of religion. And actually, if you go back to the original founding documents of the United States of America, if you go back to the...
Oh, he's going to try to push that Christianity is part of America shtick, isn't it?
Anglo legal tradition, well before there was ever a United States of America, what you find is that freedom of religion is actually a Christian concept. And the reason...
Holy yap. Okay. So, what are you going to tell me, JD? Because it's a Christian concept, therefore, it doesn't apply to Christianity. So, a concept that is made by Christianity that doesn't apply to Christianity means we can make America a Christian nation. That's what it means.
because Christianity, Imago Dei, the idea that we are all made in the image of our Creator, means that we must respect the free will of every single person. Now, part of that is you have a
Unless you're trans, unless you're gay, unless you're an immigrant, unless you're Jew. I don't think he hates Jews. Does he hate Muslims? I don't know. I have no idea. So, like, we should respect all God's children except the God's children we don't want to respect. Got it. I'm here. I'm with you. We locked in. Eye to eye. Come on.
conversation with people. Having free will doesn't mean that you're not allowed to encourage somebody, that you're not allowed to talk to somebody about your faith, that you're not allowed to talk about certain values in school. When our founders talked about freedom of religion, they didn't mean you weren't allowed to say a Christian prayer in a public school or that you weren't allowed to talk about Jesus Christ in a public forum. They just meant that nobody could.
That's not what's going on, JD. They're trying to force religion in school. They're trying to implement it into schools. We're not talking about talking about it in schools for like students and teachers or whatever.
Force you to profess the Christian faith. That had to come from your own free will. And I believe that, and I think every Christian who I've ever spoken to believes that the source is the Christian, the source of your faith, the Christian understanding must be your own free will. But here's the thing about Christian values. Christian values, the color of their Great Britain, what did the Christian settlers found?
All this bullshit about Christian values, and they are some of the fakest Christians I've ever seen in my life. Get out of here, buddy.
It was Christian convenient to people of Christianity, or at least this concept. And so I of Christianity. One of my favorite Bible verses in faith, make no apologies for belief, are an important foundation of this country. But I'm not going to
over under Donald Trump knows a Bible verse. I guarantee he doesn't know a Bible verse.
Force you to believe in anything because that's not.
Do you agree?
I won't either.
So,
go ahead.
For the school system, do you agree that there should be Christian implementation, or do you think that school system should be neutral and be focused on science, literature, reading, writing, arithmetic?
Well, I reject the idea that anything is purely neutral. Okay, there are, for example.
I hate that shit so much. I reject things that are completely neutral.
Let's take a basic. Take the Christopher Columbus a great explorer, or was he a guy who committed genocide against the native populations? These debates, I'm happy to have them, but I reject neutral. Likely has an agenda to sell you.
Okay, thank you. And
I think the Christian foundation of this country is a good thing. Next.
Okay, thank you. And for the pill you're talking about, what do you mean specifically? Are you talking about testosterone, estrogen?
Yeah, I'm talking about hormone replacement therapy. That's what I'm talking about. Just to be respectful, let's keep it going.
Yes, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Oh, that guy was okay. Holy yap. Yeah, JD Vance was just lying out of his teeth. Lakers are putting belt to the Miami Heat, though. You know what I'm saying? Shout out the
to talk here today. I did not agree with many of the things that you said right ahead of this, but I don't think that's my point to discuss. He did not. Hello, Mr. Vice President.
Okay. Oh, we got something spicy. Talk to me, girl. Talk to me.
Hello, Mr. Vice President. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity to talk here today. I did not agree with many of the things that you said right ahead of this, but I don't think that's my point to discuss here. What I want to ask is, you are married to a woman who is not Christian. In her Wikipedia, I mean, I just looked it up. I wanted to know what her faith was. I didn't know this before, but she still calls herself Hindu. You are raising three kids in interracial, cultural, racial, religious household. How are you maintaining, or how are you teaching your kids not to keep your religion ahead of their mother's religion? Or how are you teaching them that your kind, their dad kind, who got here just few years or few decades ago, is different or is better than your mom's kind, who got here just a generation before? How are you balancing that? And when you talk about too many immigrants here, when did you guys decide that number? Why did you sell us a dream? You made us spend our youth, our wealth in this country and gave us a dream. You don't owe us anything. We have worked hard for it. Then how can you, as a vice president, stand there and say that we have too many of them now and we are going to take them out to people who are here rightfully so by paying the money that you guys asked us? You gave us the path, and now how can you stop it and tell us we don't belong here anymore? And one more thing, I'm sorry. One more thing. Do you have to be...
There's a lot there. I don't know if I'm going to remember all this, but I will try.
I'm sorry. I had to say all of this. And please take it with due. I mean, I'm saying all of
course.
this with
No,
due
no, go ahead,
respect. I
please.
have no
Thank you.
intention of causing a scene here or anything, but
We're not close to causing a scene.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
but we talked about Christianity, all of this. I'm not even Christian, and I'm here standing to so support. Why are we making Christianity one of the major thing that you have to have in common to be one of you guys, to show that I love America just as you do? Why is that still a question? Why do I have to be a Christian? Or
Okay. So there was a lot.
Powerful question. And I can feel the emotion behind the question too. This is the first question that's putting the fire around JD. Will he give a good answer or will he play politics? Tune in next time. No, I'm trolling. Let's go.
There, and I'm going to try to respond to as much of it as I can. So on the question of immigration. So first of all, I can believe that we should have lower immigration levels. But if the United States passed a law and made a promise to somebody, the United States, of course, has to honor that promise. Nobody's talking about that. I'm talking about people who came in violation of the laws of the United States of America.
No, you're not. You're a fucking liar. You just said you want to lower the immigration levels and you want to only allow super geniuses into the country. Don't fucking lie to this girl's face. We're not talking about illegal immigration. She just said the people who rightfully got into the country and did what you guys asked. So stop playing these fucking games. We're talking about illegal immigration. Address her point. Stop being a bitch. Come on.
And I'm talking about in the future, reducing the number of people. Sorry, what?
Can I continue on that? Because when you just said you are not stopping with the people who came here legally, right? But you are pushing out policies that hurt us. And these policies are not even solving the problems. These policies are just creating chaos.
No, ma'am. Okay, so again, I'm gonna finish answering the question, and then if I've answered all 9 of your questions in less than 15 minutes, then we can keep on going. We gotta have a little fun, right? So here's the thing. I can believe.
Yes, let's have a little fun about someone who's talking about her lifestyle and her people's lifestyle getting threatened. Cool.
Believe that the United States should lower its levels of immigration in the future, while also respecting that there are people who have come here through lawful immigration pathways that have contributed to the country. But just because one person or 10 people or 100 people came in legally and contributed to the United States of America, does that mean that we're thereby committed to let in 1 million or 10 million or 100 million people a year in the future? No, that's not right. We cannot have.
Why?
I'll go and finish. We cannot have an immigration policy where what was good for the country 50 or 60 years ago binds the country inevitably for the future. There's too many people who want to come to the United States of America, and my job as vice president is not to look out for the interest of the whole world. It's to look out for the people of the United States. Now,
That whole idea, I mean, there's some validity to the idea of looking out for Americans, but ultimately, when it comes down to the situation that you're referring to, and the whole premise of like what the American dream was, is the idea to come to America and make a life for yourself. That was like the huge thing about what makes America great. Anybody can come in and make a life for themselves. So the idea that legal immigrants now have to kind of jump through even more hoops to come into the country so we can make it better for the people of that were just born here, that's the only difference. That shit don't move me. And honestly, what are you actually doing to make the lifestyle of people here better? Like, what are you doing? Tariffs are making it worse. When it comes down to trying to think, the implementation of AI is not, all the jobs that apparently immigrants are taking from people. Well, all the AI that you're trying to just push through is making it even harder for people. That we have been having so many layoffs because of AI's implementation. The government shutdowns making it harder for people. The premium increases for Medicare is making it harder for people. The cuts to SNAP benefits are making it harder for people. So what exactly are you doing to make things better for Americans? Like what? Let me hear it, because honestly, there's nothing. Send the National Guard into cities without permission? Is that what you do?
Now, you asked a personal question about our interfaith household, And yes, my wife did not grow up Christian. I think it's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not in a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. You know, everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we
I wonder what she thinks about the idea that JD Vance changed so much. Like he called Trump Hitler. He said all these things. Now he's just a little cuck who listens to billionaires and gets bent over from Donald Trump. I wonder what she thinks about that. I'm genuinely curious, to be honest.
come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Old Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her, and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way. But if she doesn't, then God says everybody has free will, and so that doesn't cause a problem for me. That's something you work out with your friends, with your family, with the person that you love. Again, one of the most important Christian principles is that you respect free will. Usha's closer to the priests who baptized me than maybe I am. They talk about this stuff. My attitude is you figure this stuff out as a family, and you trust in God to have a plan, and you try to follow it as best as you can, and that's what I try to do. I want to make a final point. So I don't want to cut you off. I want to be respectful to all the people behind you in line, but I want to make this point about immigration, okay? If you ask the question, what is the exact right number of immigrants for the United States to let in, it is just very specific on the context. If you go back to the 1920s, the United States passed an Immigration Reform Act that effectively cut down immigration to close to zero for 40 years in this country. And what happened over those 40 years? The many, many people who had come from many different foreign countries and different foreign cultures, they assimilated into American culture. And there was an
I feel like he's lying about this. When in doubt, when it comes to MAGA, they tend to just lie. So let me 1920, when cut immigration. During the 1800s, early millions of people immigrated. They mostly restricted open door policies. Some shut down. Passed a series of immigration quotas. After policy change, the numbers of origins of immigrants changed dramatically. Stand out as a pivotal event impacting over the past century. This article delves into the implications of that policy change on the United States. Okay. So, Family Search blog. All right, let's read this. In the 75 years before World War I, the number of immigrants rose sharply. In the 1850s, only about 2.2 million, doubled within 10 years, and climbed steadily until it peaked in the 1930s, when about 14, blah, blah, blah. The 19 new immigrant trend to the United States changed two ways. First, numbers leveled out and then fell dramatically. Fewer than 700,000 people arrived during the following decade. Although Europeans continued to constitute most new arrivals, the most common places of origin shifted from Southern and Eastern Europe to Western Europe. It was one of the main driving forces behind changes to the United States immigration law. Nativist ideologies became more prevalent, especially in northern Sydney, which had a higher population of immigrants compared to southern areas. An attitude that favors native people born within a country over its immigrant residents during the early 1900s, going towards the United States. This attitude sentiment increased after World War I. Soldiers returned home looking for jobs. Just as fresh surge of job-seeking immigrants also arrived, among some ethnic prejudice fueled nativist feeling. Interesting. So very similar to current America. Interesting. You know what? I think this is a history repeating itself moment. So I don't mean to say it like this is a good thing, but I do think this highlights a very interesting, unique situation currently. So in World War I, after soldiers returned from World War I, and there was the max influx of immigrants, it would make sense that people trying to get jobs are competing with immigrants, and there's just all these new people, that there is a struggle. What other event took place that drastically changed America that also corresponded with a mass influx of immigrants? I'll let you think about it. You're correct. COVID. COVID happened. We shut down our borders, and a lot of jobs were restricted. And then once the borders got relieved or opened again, because what was it, Title 42? I forget. Title 9, I don't remember. Basically, Donald Trump's executive order became null and void, and a lot of people had to get jobs now, and so did immigrants now trying to come into the country. So they correspond at the same time. So two very drastic events that affected the amount of jobs people can get. Title 42. Okay, there you go. Appreciate it. So it's Title 42. Two very important events involved people getting jobs, involved a huge drastic change of the status quo. And now we have a kind of nativist ideology perpetuating throughout MAGA of the hatred of immigrants. Very similar events. Very similar events. That makes a lot of sense. I do think that highlights something very interesting. Now, JD Vance's claim that this was an opportunity to bring people together, well, it technically is happening right now with MAGA using immigrants as the evil demons that they have to expel. Let's keep on reading. I think this is very interesting. This is extremely interesting. I don't know if I'm going to make a clip out of this. I might, because I do think this is something people should know. So I might make a clip from this. All right. What immigration laws and policies were changed in the 1920s? Anti-immigration sentiment resulted in a series of increasingly restrictive immigration laws. Laws dating to the 1880s already barred Chinese immigrants. As far back as the 1790s, the United States had passed laws restricting immigration. One of the more significant laws restricting immigration in the United States was the Immigration Act of 1917. This act banned all immigration from the Middle East and much of Asia. All immigrants were required to pass a literacy test. Very similar is that when Donald Trump was president, he restricted access because of Title 42. He put in place a Muslim ban. I think that was a really big thing as well. And COVID in general just made it hard to come into the country. So as a response to that, that's why a lot of immigrants started getting let in. A lot of similarities. In addition to requiring literacy tests, the Immigration Act of 1917, also known as the Stiet-Barred Zone Act, restricted or banned immigration from specific geographic zones. Interesting. These zones primarily targeted people from countries in Asia and the Pacific, just like how ICE is targeting people right now. And now that they're what was it? It was like a court case recently about allowing a certain level of racial identification to go after people. I can probably look that up. I have the internet. What court case allows ICE to use race find immigrants? Here it is. So this, oh my gosh, New York, they're trying to make me pay for stuff. All right, buddy. Okay, all right. I don't want to pay for it. Go back here, and I think people will cry if I use NPR, so I might as well just use this. All right, American Immigration Council. Is that a good source? It clears the way for radical racial profiling during immigration raids. So what did the Supreme Court ruling say? So this is what I was talking about. In a 6-3 vote in the case known as blah, 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 the Supreme Court granted an emergency request from the Trump administration, temporarily halted a LA judge's order that barred roving patrols from snatching people off California streets and questioned them based on how they look, what language they speak, and what work they do, or even where they happen to be. So, I mean, this idea is that this will basically overturn this and gives them the green light to do all this stuff. So basically everything I just said. So I just had to prove the claim because I don't just make shit up. All right. The act also further expanded the list of inadmissible cases, including those who are unaccompanied by their parents or are considered mentally deficient. The Supreme Court just is discussed in America. I 100% agree. It's super un-American. These restrictions significantly limited the number of immigrants allowed in the country. Okay. Mercy quota law. So a lot of this is really similar to current times, which is, again, history be repeating itself, man. It be repeating itself. In 1921, Congress passed the emergency quota law, which drastically scaled back the number of entries to the country, aimed at restricting immigration, preserving the country's demographic composition. This law once again imposed strict quotas, and an annual quota was set of 3% of the number of immigrants in the 1910 census. Significant impact on the cultural landscape of the United States by favoring immigration from Western European countries and restricting others, and reinforce existing prejudices and racial hierarchies. So the point of reference that J.D. Vance just said, and we can go back to exactly what he said, was that...
Question, what is the exact right number of immigrants for the United States to let in? It is just very specific on the context. If you go back to the 1920s, the United States passed an Immigration Reform Act that effectively cut down immigration to close to zero for 40 years in this country. And what happened over those 40 years? The many people who had come from many different foreign countries and different foreign cultures, they assimilated into American culture. And
so that was a bunch of bullshit that he was saying, and I knew it was bullshit, which is why we looked it up. So what actually happened, it seems, from how this article is portraying it at the very least, is not many countries, Western European, let's be very exact, let's be very precise, white people. So the white people came together and they created a stigma against the outsiders, and that is the identity that he's referring to. That's very based. The Immigration Act of 1924, also known as the Johnson-Reed Act, reduced the quota to 2%, while supporters argue that this percentage would preserve the country's ethnic homogeneity. That's what he's talking about. He wants to preserve the ethnic homogeneity. He needs to keep America white again. It resulted in a biased and discriminatory system that favored immigrants from Northern and Western Europe countries, including Britain and Ireland, while completely prohibiting Asians, including Japanese, who have not been previously restricted. So we kept out all the is fair skin white or is it colored? Fair skin's white, right? I think fair skin's white. Basically, all the colored individuals, whether they're tannish colored, maybe the eyes look a little different, or they are brown or dark black, they're not American. That's what the 1920s established. Racism based. No, not even racism. It's like xenophobia. Not even xenophobia, because they cared about the white Europeans. The approval process moved from United States ports of entries to offices in the places. I mean, I already proved my point. J.D. Vance is full of shit. He wants to create a white country. I get it. I understand. I hear ya.
And there was an expectation that they would assimilate into American culture. I think we have two problems in our immigration system today. My guess is you're probably a slightly more...
Too many brown people. Too many people not speaking English.
Or leftist political persuasion, liberal political persuasion, maybe not. But here's the thing. I remember back in my establishment GOP days when I was still very early getting involved in Republican politics, I remember a conservative think tank person who told me that one of the reasons why immigration was really good is that if you had enough diversity in a country, people would mistrust each other and they wouldn't join labor unions. Okay? So when I see a lot of left-wing people who theoretically support organized labor saying we need to flood the country with a limitless number of immigrants, they're unwilling to set any limitations on it. My response to that is you are destroying the very social trust on which American freedom and prosperity was built.
That is some bullshit. He just be yapping. What? It's immigrants' fault that labor unions fall apart? They're really trying to push this. They don't have the evidence to back it up. There's no evidence to back up that immigrants are ruining labor markets. None. No evidence. But you know, gotta keep up the narrative.
What is the accepting? We have got to become a common community again, and you can't do that.
We got to become white
such
again.
High numbers of
Wix.
gives you the power of AI to build.
AI is everywhere, bro.
Good evening, Vice President Vance. I just want to say it's an honor to actually be able to talk to you.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. One of my biggest questions is, I feel like one of the biggest problems that America is facing today is that ever-growing social political divide, and we're seeing this on the Republican and Democratic side. But we've seen that a refusal to cooperate with the other side has led to some major issues, including right now the government shutdown. And I wonder, as the party in power, what are your plans to address that issue towards, you know, reaching that olive branch out to the other side to actually come to an agreement on how to go?
Well, the Democrats need to realize that they have to listen to us. And it's all the Democrats' fault. Let's hear it.
Forward with our government.
Look, it's a very good question. And let me just say on the government shutdown in particular, the reality here is that there's a very simple bill that just reopens the government. It does it through pretty much the end of the year. That got every single Republican in the House of Representatives to support it. And then it got 52 Republicans in the Senate and 3 Democrats in the Senate to support it. But because of weird Senate procedural rules, it requires a 60-vote threshold. So on that issue in particular, when you have every single Republican with like 2 exceptions in both houses of Congress, I feel pretty confident. I know that I'm partisan. I know I have an R next to my name. But I feel pretty damn good saying the shutdown is the Democrats' fault because we voted.
Yo, these people are so predictable, bro. These people are they're so Of course, all of the Republicans are voting for it. They're all fucking cultists that do whatever Donald Trump says. Unless you're like, I'll be honest, go Rui Hachimura. The only ones who are like growing a pair of balls is like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. So come on, boy. Like, what are we doing? Like, come on, boy. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. Are you gonna bring up the fact that you don't want to help with the healthcare that's going to affect millions of Americans? You're gonna bring that up
Again and again to open.
Base.
Now, but there's a broader question there, and I think most Americans, whatever their political persuasion, would actually like the country's political parties to work together better to solve the problems. And look, and I agree with that. And my approach when I was in the United States Senate was to try to find some issues where we could agree with the other side on and try to work with them on it. And like, let me give you one example. I really worry about concentration in the corporate sector. I worry about big corporate monopolies. I worry that when you have only 1 or 2 companies dominating an entire sector, it's bad for liberty and it's bad for prosperity. So
He's full of shit. He's full of shit. The Republican parties are bought by billionaires. And like I said, let me say this again. I'm being very clear. JD Vance is a shill to Silicon Valley. Don't let him fucking lie to you. He's a shill to billionaires. So I just want to make that crystal clear for everybody here. All right. I know he's going to cape. We don't like cape as cape. You feel me? Why can't I hear it? Did I mess something up? No, I just can't hear him. Oh, I accidentally muted it. No, that's not it. Why can't your browser connection? Oh. Okay. So it just lost connection. That's annoying.
There are a lot of President Trump is in my view, you haven't seen organized labor ever get behind a Republican at least in 100 years, like they have behind.
Shut the fuck up.
Actually work with us. That's the way you make this happen.
So Democrats have to fall in line, basically. That's his answer.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next. We'll try to get through as many as possible, guys. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Vice President.
Hello.
Hi. I actually drove here all the way from Memphis, Tennessee. Go Tigers.
So, you have a good accent.
I'm sure everyone here is aware of the Memphis Safe Task Force that has been in the city for about a month now. And I checked a little earlier. As of this morning, I believe they've arrested 1,700 people and seized about 300 illegal guns. So I want to ask, how does this law enforcement objective jive with Attorney General Pam Bondi's pledge to make the Department of Justice a more pro-Second Amendment Department of Justice? Because I'm sure most people in here support the Second Amendment. So how can Republicans and this Department of Justice use the current gun laws that are on the books that a lot of pro-Second Amendment advocates disagree with, that we wanted to overturn in the Big Beautiful Bill, but we didn't get it?
Yeah. So I understand the question. And by the way, I supported some of those changes in the Big Beautiful Bill. I know the President of the United States did too. We didn't have the votes to get them in there, and that's as simple as that. But I know exactly what you're talking about because there were a couple.
Yeah, he supported a change where AI will not be regulated for, it wouldn't be regulated for what, like 4 years? There would be no AI regulation?
Couple of issues in particular. I talked to some of my Second Amendment
He wanted to help out his billionaire Silicon Valley friends like Peter Thiel, that's why.
friends. But here's the basic issue. We don't want people who have violated the law, who have committed felonies. The Second Amendment, like every other amendment, it's about due process. It's that you don't have your rights violated unless there is due process of law. If you're a person who's committed 4
Unless
felonies,
you're brown,
and
then
court
you don't
has
get due
lawfully ordered that you
process.
shouldn't have a gun, and you're running around with a firearm, I don't have any problem with law enforcement saying you don't get to have that firearm that is illegally possessed, illegally obtained. I think that's basic law and order. Now, again, if you had, if you had somebody come in and say, well, we don't think that person should have a firearm, but they haven't violated any law, that's a totally separate question. That's not what we're focused on. What we're focused on is violent crime and people who have violated, the bodily autonomy of another human people.
This is all bullshit. Let's move on.
$1 billion foreign notion that I'm a Christian man. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a Christian man, and I'm just confused why that there's this notion that we might have owe Israel something, or that they're our greatest ally, or that we have to support this multi-hundred-billion-dollar foreign aid package to Israel to cover this, to quote Charlie Kirk, ethnic cleansing in Gaza. I'm just confused why this idea has come around, considering the fact that not only does their religion not agree with ours, but also openly supports the prosecution of ours.
Yeah, so
yeah,
let me the United States. And the United States, one thing I cite with that, when American citizens.
I am 100% pro-life, and I know you've stated, President, I'm the president of our pro-life organization here at Ole Miss, Rebels for Life. And I myself, as a president, am 100% pro-life. And I know you've stated, you being Catholic, that in the past, you've stated that you're 100% pro-life. But since joining the presidential campaign as the VP, you've kind of wavered how you see abortion. So I'm just wondering what your stance is right now.
Sure.
And do you think that someone else's right to liberty trumps someone else's right to life?
Well, first of all, I appreciate your question, and I appreciate the work that you do. You asked the question, do I think somebody else's right to liberty trumps somebody else's right to life? No, I do not. I, in fact, do not believe that. Now, you said, and I'm going to take issue with something you said, just the premise of the question, which is that I've wavered on the pro-life issue. I really do believe that the president has been the most pro-life president in the history of the United States of America.
I don't care about this question.
And what can get accomplished. And there may be disagreement to the very end. You've got to work with others came to the New World, agree with my view, it's where there were bones. There is a reason, and it's one of the...
Are you looking at 4x4s on cars?
Okay.
So I just have to say I'm thrilled to hear you articulate Christian values on a stage like this, and to remind us that things we take for granted and things we value so much have a Christian origin. So thank you for that. I really mean that. However,
so much of liberalism, by the way, so much of the far left is a sort of, if you really pay attention to it, it's a kind of perverted version of Christianity. Like, there's nothing wrong, of course, with focusing on people who are disenfranchised, for example. That's the focus of liberalism. But if you completely separate it from any religious duty, any civic virtue, then that can actually become, for example, an inducement to lawlessness. You can't just have compassion for the criminal. You also have to have justice too, which is why I think that a properly rooted Christian moral order
He's just
is such
yapping.
an
He's
important
just
part of
absolutely yapping.
hope
You
and
do not
pray
need
that we can be a
Christianity to have
nation
moral
of
values. He's just yapping.
Absolutely. Now, as much as I hope and pray that we can be a nation of Christians, the idea of a Christian nation scares me. So I'd like to hear your feedback on a pretty nuanced argument here, that perhaps there should be a wall of separation, as at least one of our founders advocated, between church and state at the national level. However, that line can and should get blurrier as we descend to the community level. And perhaps that is actually the system, the structure that our founders gave us when they said Congress shall make no law establishing a religious body. However, states did have close relationships with churches at that time.
Yeah.
Oh my God, bro. Jesus Christ. Is there any other good
whatever it is
questions?
that they want.
Hello, JD. How you doing today, man?
Good. How you doing?
In the wise words of Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Don't feel bad. Neither do I half the time, man.
Oh, this guy's a country fella.
First off, yeah, laugh it up, laugh it up. Okay, first off, I just want to say I am a huge supporter of the Trump administration. I was 3 months too late to vote for you guys, but if I could have, I would have. So I'm a huge supporter of you guys before I make my argument. But there is something you guys are doing that is kind of disturbing me a little bit.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. You guys have sent the military into Washington, D.C. and a few other cities that I can't think of off the top of my head, which first off, they've had wonderful results. Like no one can deny the results of that. It's
Yeah, I can, but go ahead. Answer your question.
wonderful. Some might even say the greatest. I'm a comedian.
I like this guy. Who is this guy?
Thank you, JD. I like you too.
Now he's gonna ask the question about all the shit that we did wrong, but that's okay. Go ahead and ask your question.
But yeah, I'm just wondering, well, it's not necessarily something you did wrong, but it's what could someone else do wrong? Let's say we get a complete tyrant in office, and let's say Turning Point USA is having a huge protest against, something really bad that we don't like, and let's say a president is saying that it's getting violent. How can we, I'm trying to think, my mind's kind of blank. What is the difference between what you're doing and how could we prevent someone from abusing that power?
Yeah, so look, I understand where the question is coming from, and I think it's a fair question. And it's going to sound like I'm being sarcastic, and it really is not meant in any offense. But when you talk about what could another administration do, to take a wild, hypothetical example totally off the top of my head, what if Joe Biden sent the Federal Bureau of Investigation to start arresting his political opponents?
So he didn't. But the Donald Trump is using the DOJ to go after his legitimate political opponents. So made that shit up. And everything that Donald Trump did was not them actively going after him for no reason. These are all just cause reasons for actionable actions. January 6th and all the weird stuff with Stormy Daniels, the weird stuff with New York. Now, you could put severity on these situations, but these are circumstances that he did, especially the election fraud and the false slate of electors. So that, nice try though. And Donald Trump is actively going after political opponents. But okay, go ahead.
Okay, so here's something that I want every conservative to remember. It's an important part of my entire political philosophy is we cannot be afraid to do something because the left might do it in the future. The left is already going to do it regardless of whether we do it. That is the takeaway of the last.
I swear to God, these people are evil. They make up shit. They skew the facts. So they're basically saying we can do whatever the fuck we want because this hypothetical, untruthful version of the left would be worse. So I can send the National Guard wherever I want. I can change district maps for voting however I want. I can go after political opponents. I can pardon corrupt politicians. I can allow a meme coin to be invested by foreign adversaries to meet with the president of the United States individually. I can personally profit for my family for them to get billions of dollars. Because this imaginary version of the left would do it worse. Or do it too. These people are so evil, bro.
40 years. And in particular, if you look at what we're doing, if Joe Biden wanted to deploy the National Guard to a red state in a place where the murder rate was twice what it is in third world countries to actually go after murderers, that would be a great use of the National Guard.
You're a fucking liar. Oh my God, these guys are fucking liars. If Joe Biden put the National Guard and sent him to a Republican city, they would cry and bitch and moan. And I wouldn't blame them because that's not something you're allowed to do. That's just not in the government process. Unless you, like the mayor and the governor, say, okay, but even the justifiability is questionable. This is insane, bro. That's a wild part. They already set the narrative that the left has already done all this stuff, so they're just going to tit for tat. It's the ultimate justification for anything they want to do. It's crazy. They have no substance. They have no evidence. They just make stuff up, and these people on the right just eat it up. They lie constantly. I've proved the lie so many times in this video alone. He's just a fucking liar. It's so the MAGAs just be lying. The justification to send the National Guard to cities that have a crime rate is fucking ridiculous. Now, are there things that we should really talk about in terms of crime rate? For sure. But he is full of shit. He would not want that to happen. And when it comes to crime rate, Republican states have more crime. So, I mean, all right.
Guard. Unfortunately, I don't think Joe Biden would use it like that. What I'm worried about, frankly, is what the far left already did with American law enforcement, and that is the thing that we have to prevent against. And the answer to that question is you make sure the people who did it face penalties for using the federal power against American citizens.
Like you are doing right now. Okay, bro. I'll be honest. We really got to talk about how to deal with these people after we got a Democrat president. Because this shit is unbelievable. I want normal Republicans back. I don't want these evil pieces of garbage.
That's exactly what we're trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Honor to meet.
All right. We're done with this video. Check out the comment section before we wrap things up. After 29 years, my wife is converting to Catholicism, so there's always hope, JD. Boo. Watch her now, pretty great to see. I'd say remarkable. Honestly, this is just how it should be. Props to Vance for actually doing it, though. Imagine Kamala doing something like this. This should be the bar we hold our leaders at. You can't imagine her talking to college students? Vance 2028. Exactly what the hell we voted for. I love this man. I like how JD Vance gave me a brief story about him being nervous. The Democrats can answer straight point to all this question answered. Oh my God. All this JD glaze. I mean, I gave him his respect where it's due because I did say that I respect for him talking to college students that it's going to glaze them. There was only one college student that actually asked him a very potent question. But other than that, I guess.